This is the Charity Stripe on the Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio.
And now, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. We are live on the Charity Stripe podcast with your hosts, Alex, Josh, and Nick.
We're back, baby. It's the Charity Stripe. Hit your free throws because they're free. I'm Joshua Fisher along with Alexander Desopoulos and Nicholas Snacks Kreider. If you don't like a DJ air horn sound effect, that is so fine. Just come talk to us on Instagram at the.charity.stripe or on Twitter at _charity_stripe_.
Talk to us.
Talk to us.
I feel like some of you guys aren't talking to us. I feel like we need to hear more of you talk to us.
Just talk to us. We just want to have some conversations about, you know what? Sports, football, basketball, baseball,
Life,
college sports, life. More relationships. Yeah, for sure. Relationships.
Food
is great. What's
just
food in general? Just and no specific kind of food, not sushi, not pastries. Do you guys like sweet or savory? Just before we get into football. That was quick. Toss. Is it even a toss up for you?
Are you like talking about pastries specifically?
Maybe no, I'm just going sweet versus savory in general.
Those are like so different because they're two different types of meals. One's dinner to me, one's dessert.
Well, what about breakfast or second breakfast?
Supper.
Supper.
I mean, breakfast normally I prefer savory.
Okay, interesting. How many times have you think we've referenced Lord of the Rings in our last, including our podcast, which, by the way, if you haven't checked out our podcast, go check it out on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get your podcast. It's technically our 400th episode. We do the 1090 show split into 200 podcasts. This is our 400th podcast episode. Shout out to us. Shout out to our families.
If you put all of the audio together from all of our 400 shows,
yeah,
you might have one collective episode that's almost as long as Return of the King extended cut.
Yeah. Oh my God, longer than that of just Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter references. I'm curious to see how much time we've taken up there. But nothing like a crappy segue. So let's talk about football.
I have a quick question.
You go for it, Nick.
I've seen Harry Potter. I've seen Lord of the Rings. I've seen all those movies.
Yeah.
And you guys know how to spit out references like no other. How many times have you each seen those movies?
Probably the same amount as you. We're just sick.
Probably 9 3/4 times.
Yeah, 9 3/4 for sure is the
best. To that one.
I've read the books multiple times. I've seen the movies a plethora of times. I am a nerd. You know, I'm not afraid to admit it. I think that Harry Potter is probably my favorite series. I mean, I don't think I could reference the Marvel stuff as well as you could.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could do like Game of Thrones and Marvel pretty well.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know about Star Wars. That one's a little old.
Yeah,
what about some Succession references, Nick?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we're all
best part about NFL football. Rava featured in the commercials.
Nice. That's a good segue.
Paint splattered on her face in the RAV4. Rava driving the RAV4.
Nice.
Is it Nissan?
It's a car commercial.
Missed opportunity though. It should be the RAV4.
Exactly.
I really wish it was
Rava 4.
The Rava 4. If her name's not Rava in real
yeah,
life.
her name. She has a name, and it's not Rava. But I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
This is a good beeline. There was one time Nick and I used to wait tables together at a restaurant, and this guy, there was I guess like an important customer coming in named Sloan, and I thought it was Sloan from Entourage, and everyone turned to me like I was a complete idiot, which by the way I was, because I was like, oh, Sloan from Entourage is coming in, and they're like, yeah, that's not her real name, that's just the character's name.
Sloan Ketterman, right?
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I think I should go home.
Emmanuel
and he stopped working there.
Yeah, and then I stopped working there. I wasn't fired, but it was just a coincidence. That was also my last day. But yeah, back to your great segue of Succession into football. Wild card weekend, underwhelming. We discussed that on our pod, as you mentioned previously. Most of the games were Doogie Howser kind of crap, can kick rocks. We had a couple of good ones, but I think the divisional rounds will prove to be better. We'll start with the AFC in our first segment, and in our second segment on radio, we'll go to the NFC. We got Bengals going to Tennessee. And then we have Buffalo going to Kansas City. I think this Buffalo-Kansas City game is gearing up to maybe be the best game of the playoffs, potentially. We don't know what the Super Bowl matchups would be, but I think Josh Allen looked absolutely fantastic in the wild card game. Mahomes started off with a pick and then subsequently threw 5 touchdowns. So both these quarterbacks are playing top dollar right now. Arrowhead is one of the most fun places to watch a game, at least from a TV standpoint. The energy is always there from the fans. And then you got the Bengals and the Titans. The Titans, the unlikely 1 seed, despite all the injuries. Derrick Henry goes down. He's coming back on January 22nd, 2022. Obviously, he's King Henry 22. That may mean he rushes for 222 yards in his return. But the Bengals
sounds like a WWE promotional little segment you just threw out there. January 22nd, King Henry returns to the ring.
When is the Royal Rumble? We should go to that.
I've been to one of them.
You've been to a Royal Rumble?
Yeah, it was in San Antonio, the Undertaker one.
How sick was that? The coolest thing you've ever been to?
It was epic. It's probably one of my favorite sporting events ever.
I don't know.
I went down a Google search rabbit hole the other day, just looking at photos of Stone Cold with hair, because I was like, this is so weird. It's so weird.
It's a good call. I should look that up.
Yeah, it's super. Kurt Angle with hair is weird, but I don't even want to see what he has. I always pictured Stone Cold just never having hair, just coming out looking like a baby and then looking like an old man, but always being bald. I don't know why I've never pictured him with hair. Any Hoosers, who's got a nice head of hair? Joe Burrow, the quarterback for the Bengals. The Bengals go to Tennessee. And I want to say this. I think this is the best shot this Tennessee personnel has. We've seen Henry have 2 incredible seasons in 2019 and 2020. 2021, he gets injured. We'll see how he comes back for the playoffs. But especially at the running back position, I don't care how good you are. Injuries beget injuries. And it could be a situation where he may never get back to the form where he's rushing for 2K. It is Derrick Henry. He's a different breed. But injuries to running backs are obviously extremely scary. Julio Jones, is healthy, but has not been worth the second round pick they traded him for. AJ Brown's been in and out of the lineup. And I think Tannehill, we talk about it all the time. Shout out to Bill Polian, who's got a podcast on our network. He says there's guys you win because of, guys you can win with, and guys that the third tier of guys who are just starting quarterbacks in the NFL. I think Tannehill, along with the Cousins, he may be a bit better than Cousins and Carr, but he really, for me, is in that group with that second tier guys, not guys because you're winning because of. Definitely behind, the Rodgers, the Brady's, Stafford, I would say, and I'd probably say obviously
a bit behind.
Yeah, I would maybe a bit behind right there. And I think this team, if they can't get it done at home right now, the Bengals, who are hot as all get out, but this is their best time they're going to do it, because they're not going to have home field advantage ever again, I don't think. I mean, I think they caught lightning in a bottle. The Chiefs had a couple weird fluky games where they collapsed and fell apart and didn't really show up, which allowed them to take the lead. I think this Bengals team is only on the up, and this may be the Titans' best chance, especially with home field advantage. I mean, the Bills, for what it's worth, kind of had a down year as far as the regular season goes, a lot under what we expected. And if they can't take care of business against this inexperienced Cincinnati team, let's call it how it is, no matter how good they are, I don't think we'll see them in the Super Bowl under this current roster personnel. Is that a crazy thing to say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's crazy at all. I think that when they got in the playoffs last season, it was shocking to a lot of people. Yeah, they had a good roster, but how well they played was definitely something that people weren't expecting, especially with, a pretty new coach in Vrabel. But, having Henry have the year that he had this year was amazing. Of course, with all the injuries, them sneakily getting to the first seed was just one of the sneakiest ones he's ever seen, honestly. So if they don't pull it off this year, then I think that, it's probably time to reevaluate the roster and see what else you can do to beef it up. But in my opinion, if we're really talking about it, I don't think they win this game. I think that the Bengals are going to take this game here, riding just the hot hand of Joe Burrow and the receiving trio that he has with Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. And, of course, you got Joe Mixon, who was also a Pro Bowl running back this year. It's a really good team, and they played really good ball towards the end of the season. And I think that they're going to continue to ride that hot wave and go into Tennessee and take care of business. We've seen multiple times in playoff history when a playoff team gets a first-round bye, they don't know what hit them the next round. They've had that week off, and technically they've had 2 weeks off, because you probably have to assume that the last week of the regular season, they probably are not playing that hard. They're resting a lot of their starters. So these guys have 2 weeks off in a sense. And a team like the Bengals that's been playing just grinding football, meaningful football in every single game within their last couple of weeks, they're in that headspace of just kill, win mode.
I think they're almost even in a better. So if the Raiders had won that game, they would have won 2 back-to-back games that were down to the wire. Throw it all out on the table because you don't know if this is your last hurrah. They lose that game, but the Bengals actually, the last game of the regular season, they benched a lot of their starters. Burrow didn't play. Mixon didn't get too many carries. Chase wasn't out there the entire game. Like they got good rest that last week of the season, and then last week they've got the playoff experience. They have a playoff game under their belt. Yes, they are less seasoned, like you mentioned, Josh. To me, I think they're going to struggle to run the football. This Titans run defense has been great all season.
Jeffrey Simmons, beast.
I think that it's going to look very similar to last game for the Bengals offensively. Burrow's going to have to throw a lot, and he can't make mistakes. And he didn't make mistakes last game, and that's why they won. They were comfortably in the lead the entire game. This Titans defensive secondary has some holes, and I think he can take advantage of that. So I think it fits okay into their game plan. I think if you were to ask Zach Taylor what he really wants to do, he wants to run the football, and he wants to run it a lot and have an effective game on the ground, but I just don't see that happening. So some more heroics from Joe. That's what they need to win, because I don't think if it's a shootout, I lean more towards the Bengals just with the weapons that the Titans have and the type of year that Tannehill had, because he did have a regression from last year.
Well, that's because you're losing a lot of the play. I mean, a lot of their offense is based on the play action. You have Derek, and Deonta Foreman, shout out to him because the Longhorn was good in his own right, filling in. Yeah, and admirably, but it's not Derrick Henry. I mean, Derrick Henry still finished top 10 in rushing, I think, and he missed like half the season. So at this point, getting him back in the mix just opens up the play action and really just not only elevates Tannehill, elevates A.J. Brown and potentially Julio Jones. Right. I think that you're right.
But what Derrick Henry are we getting? We have no idea. I mean, we expect him to come roaring back like Adrian Peterson did after post-injury. No, you don't think so?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm
saying we, as in like collectively, most football fans expect when Derrick Henry plays that he's going to be Derrick Henry prior to the injury, that he's going to look somewhat similar. I think a learned mind, someone who's being more realistic about it, knows that it's not going to be the case. He's probably not 100%, right? So what Derrick Henry are you getting? Does that really even matter? Is he just a decoy in the play action anyway, because he draws so much attention and brings the linebackers into the box? Like, you have to respect him.
Yeah, you have to respect him. I'm saying no very quickly, but Cam Akers came back in the season. We thought he wouldn't come back and looked good. Not unbelievable, but Cam Akers looked good. I think that they need Derrick Henry to win this game. And I think you're right, and Zach Taylor would say that. But in the back of my mind, I'm feeling that Zach Taylor wants to do what we're all thinking, gash them early. Try to run up the score as fast as you can and take Derrick Henry completely out of the game and force Tannehill to throw the football. And trust my defensive line. Lario's out, but he got Trey Henderson, who hopefully plays. I mean, he won't be at full health, but I think you trust your defense, who's been decent thus far this year, and you got to trust your 3 receivers and Joe Burrow to come into Tennessee and just kind of run the score up. On BetOnline right now.ag, our sponsor. Go to betonline.ag. Win money. Bet money, win money. Line's 3.5 in favor of the home team, the Titans. Are we all on the front of taking them plus 3.5, the Bengals? Nick, it sounds like you're even willing to throw the money line, in which you hit your money line last week on the Niners. Sorry, Toss.
I would take a money line. Are you right there with me, Nick?
Yeah. I'm all in on Joe Beasy and the Bees. I think that they're going to win this game, and it's going to give Joe Burrow a lot of experience heading into next season. I don't think they get it done in the conference championship game, but this is going to be some great playoff experience for Joe to actually get to that game. It just, in my opinion, the firepower is too much to keep up with. The Titans are not a team that can play from behind, in my opinion, kind of similar to the Pats. And I think the offense that Burrow and Zach Taylor have constructed with all those weapons, they're going to get out to an early lead, and they're not going to, I don't think the other team's going to be able to catch up.
Okay. Toss, your team's chickens have come to roost for the Titans. We're going Bengals.
I mean, yeah, I've been kind of out on the Titans the entire year. I called for the Colts to win the division out from under them, but I was wrong about that. So Vrabel he could surprise. He's a great head coach.
Yeah, I there was one point, I don't know what I was on, but I picked the Titans to win the AFC. I would love to retract that statement right here, right now. Not only do I think they won't win the AFC, I think they're going to lose this game. So I think I'm team Bengals as well, plus 3.5.
Benjis, baby.
If you're bleeding a little bit,
Throw some Benjis on the Benjis.
Yeah, throw some Benjis on the Benjis.
And here's a really interesting stat that I just realized
Go.
just by researching the Bengals a little bit. They have allowed the exact same amount of rushing yards that they had this season, 1742.
Wow,
That's pretty. I mean, what are the odds of that?
That's super weird. It's a really uncomfortable stat, but kind of.
Come on, Bet Online. What are the odds for that?
What are the odds? BetOnline.ag. All right, we'll stick with BetOnline.ag. We'll stick with the next game in the AFC. Buffalo heads to Kansas City. This could be the best game of the whole thing. Shebang. We got Mahomes versus Josh Allen. Many thought this would be the AFC Championship. We're getting a little bit early. Both guys coming off unbelievable wild card games. Nick, I'm going to start with you because you're the biggest Josh Allen Buffalo Bills enthusiast. The line's 1.5 in favor of the Chiefs. At that point, are you willing to put the Benjis or put the Bills on the Bills? There we go. Save myself there and ride the money line. Or are you a little skeptical now heading into Kansas City and Arizona?
No. I'm fully putting myself through a table, riding the Buffalo Bills. Mafia.
Wow.
Bills on the Bills, Benjis on the Benjis. It's going to be an all BZ conference championship game. I'm riding all the Bs. I think this team is hot. They just took down your Patriots. I'm sorry, but that was just a dominant performance. It was just, they're playing with their food. That's really what it was. They had a perfect offensive game in a sense. I mean, besides the incompletions that they threw, other than that, they scored a touchdown on every single drive against a top 10 defense in the NFL, a Bill Belichick defense. This was a good Pats team all season long, and they really just had their way with them. Now, I think that this is going to be a very close and fun game, but man, Buffalo's not a team you want to play right now. And I do think that there are times the Kansas City Chiefs can definitely hit a little rut sometimes. I mean, they started off the game against the Steelers pretty slow. I mean, they were down 7-0 heading into the second quarter. And I know that's only the first quarter of the game, but still, Buffalo's not the type of team that you can afford to do that against. But I'm taking Bills money line as well, baby.
Okay. Toss.
It's enticing. It's very enticing, but I can't do it. At the beginning of the season, I did pick the Chiefs to play the Packers in the Super Bowl. So why would I stray from that?
You can't stray from that.
And I think as good as the Buffalo's offense has been, especially in the last 3 or 4 weeks, Kansas City's offense has looked as best as it has at the end of this season.
Yeah.
In particular, last game, Kelsey is firing on all cylinders. Mahomes is connecting with guys. Guys are finally catching the ball. Like, there were some uncharacteristic drops across the first 6 games of the season this year, and everyone was like, what's wrong with the Chiefs? And then they flipped it around and ended up being, the second best seed in the AFC. So I think they're still the same old Chiefs, and Andy Reid is a great head coach, and their defense is stepping up. We know what Spagnuolo does, right? Like, this team is primed to win playoff games. They've been there before. They know what they're doing. It's going to be a close game because I don't see the Bills completely outdoing them on the offensive side of the ball. And if Pat Mahomes has a chance at the end of the game, I'm going to take the Chiefs every single time. So I like them 1.5. I like them money line. However you want to do it, I think you can't go wrong putting your money on the Chiefs.
It's tough. I think it's going to be a better game than when they played last time. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking for revenge. I'll tell you that. I mean, the last time the Bills were in the playoffs, they got knocked out by the Chiefs.
Yes. I do think that this Chiefs team at home still takes care of business. If this was in Buffalo, I'd be willing to ride with you, Nick. I just think Buffalo going to Arrowhead. Josh Allen was fantastic against New England. There are moments in games where he's the guy that goes 14 of 26 for 122 yards and 2 picks. He's an unbelievable offensive weapon. The Gabriel Davis has been great. The connection to Dawson Knox last game was fantastic. Dev Singletary has been superb to end the season. I just think that it's one of those situations where Mahomes gets it done. And, as much as I detest Jackson Mahomes and pretty much the life around Mahomes, off the field. I think him on the field is still to this day a spectacle and something we shouldn't just take for granted. And he proves once again why he's still the best quarterback in the AFC and gets it done. But I do think it becomes the best game we've seen this far and potentially the best game of the offseason. So I'm going to ride with Kansas City spread because I think the 1.5 at that point is moot. But yeah, the Bengals, 3 on the Bengals. Then we got 2 on the Chiefs, 1 on the Bills. And then from the top of the show, when we were talking about savory versus sweet, I believe we had 2 on savory, and I never gave my pick because no one asked. Thanks, friends. I was sweet. I'm a sucker for a good pastry, maybe a chocolate frog.
We didn't ask because I think everyone can assume you've got a sweet tooth.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but
unless you figure that out.
All right, thank you. And on that note,
is that a Netflix TV show reference, Nick?
Could have been.
Maybe he was telling me that I need to hit the treadmill. Anyway, I'm Joshua Fisher, along with Alexander Tesopoulos, Nicholas Snacks Kreider. We're the Charity Stripe. We'll be right back. We have some words to have with each other at this break. Hit your free throws. We're back again. Segment 2, the Charity Stripe. I'm Joshua Fisher, along with Alexander Tesopoulos and San Diego's own Nicholas Snacks Kreider. And we're here to talk some NFC football. NFC is exciting. You guys liked the Cowboys-Niners game a lot more than I did. I was a little underwhelmed. The Cardinals-Rams game, in my personal opinion, stunk on ice. And then obviously the Eagles, Bucs, the Eagles should not have even been in the playoffs. So here we stand, Bucs versus Rams. Last time they played each other, I have a fun one for you guys. Last time they played each other, Bucs went to Los Angeles and lost. Now the Rams come into Tampa Bay against the defending champs. We'll see how that goes. We have Packers, Niners. Last time they played this season, the Niners were beating them down, had the lead. Packers come back, late game field goal by Mason Crosby to win. I believe that was the same weekend. I could be wrong. I didn't check this. Just let that be known as well. I'm going off the dome ski, off the memory. I believe I watched the Niners Packers at the bar with my Faja, and then he and I went to the Rams Bucs game at SoFi, which if you haven't been to SoFi, great stadium. Food is a little underwhelming just because it hasn't been filled out yet. But overall, through and through, I love the view and I love the atmosphere of the stadium surrounding it. I know a lot of Chargers fans and some Rams fans on our 1090 fam. So go check it out if you haven't been. Let's start there though. Let's start in Tampa, Rams, Bucs. What are you guys feeling for this one? BetOnline.ag has it -3 in favor of the defending champs. We'll start with Utah's. Where's your heart? Where's your head? Where's your stomach?
And also, what's on your head?
And what's on your head? Yeah, for this is a lot of audio for some people, but for those who can see us on the YouTube channel, go to Scott Kaplan's YouTube channel. Go to sideoftdebate.co. It's also where we're brought to you by. We'll put up a great debate considering all the playoff matchups this week on Sided. But Toss has a little sprout on his head. We have some fun
one of our debates might be who has the best zoom filter on. Because Josh, you have some cool meme shades.
I do.
Nick is seeing the world in 3D.
For Bill Walton, baby.
Yep.
And I have grown a little leaflet on my head, a little sprout.
Little leaflet. Baby Groot. All right, Baby Groot. Talk to us. Rams, Bucs. Where's your heart? Where's your head? Stomach, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Go for it.
I am Groot.
Okay.
I'm Groot.
Okay.
Oh, couldn't say better myself.
Okay. Yeah, so that was me. That was me having no idea what to do with this game. I'm pretty up in the air. My gut tells me that the Rams are destined, but I don't know because it's hard because, like you said, the Eagles should not have been in the playoffs, right? And the Buccaneers throttled them. But I don't want to take too much away from that game because that's what should have happened. They're in a different class of football team. I worry about Tom Brady in this game because I think that Donald and Vaughn are firing on all cylinders right now, and I think they're going to get after him.
And Leonard Floyd, by the way, he always gets forgotten about. He's a great player.
And Wirfs got banged up in that last game.
He did,
which is not helpful for the Bucs offensive line. Now, I don't think that the Rams are going to be able to run the ball as well as they did against the Cardinals. So I think, you've got that too. I don't know. What do you guys think? I can't make a decision as of now.
Look, not only did Wirfs, get banged up, Ryan Jensen, their Pro Bowl center, also got banged up a little bit. Neither practiced on Wednesday. So I think looking at the line, like obviously a lot of the eyeballs are going to be on the quarterbacks, Brady versus Stafford. But looking at the line where you have Wirfs, who was the best offensive tackle as a rookie last year and has continued the trend of being one of the best offensive tackles in all of football into this year. Jensen, who's an unsung hero. The whole offensive line with the Buccaneers has been great, but 2 of the 5 pieces are banged up. And we're going against what I would say of our generation. We've seen a lot of phenomenal ones. Again, our generation, Aaron Donald being the best defensive player that we've seen. So you have him on the edge, the middle, wherever they want to line him up, combined with probably a top 10 defensive player of our generation, who still may not be at his peak, but is still an excellent football player. And Von Miller, who you bring up, Leonard Floyd, this is the matchup where no AB and no Godwin hurt you, because when you have AB, you have Godwin, you have Gronk up the seam, gashing up the middle of the field, then you could afford to let Mike Evans be covered by Jalen Ramsey. But this is a situation where you don't have the 2 former guys. One leaves in the middle of the Jets game, hyping up MetLife as if he owns the place, which sometimes I watch that video and it just gets funnier and funnier. And then you have Godwin, who unfortunately is out for the season. Gronkowski's been playing unbelievable football. We talk about Von Miller being excellent in his older years. Gronkowski looks like he's back to his old self. But the Mike Evans, Jalen Ramsey matchup is detrimental for the Bucs because they just don't have the tertiary receivers outside of Evans that they normally would. And I think that hinders them a little bit. Fournette, the running back, they're depleted there and injured there. They've filled in admirably. I just think this Rams team, they lost Woods, but in my face, Toss, you threw it back at me a couple episodes ago, or maybe the most recent one on our podcast. Go check it out.
Toss been throwing it back.
I've been throwing it back. That Odell is still got. He's still a top 20 receiver. And if you look at his red zone numbers and his ability to score, look, he got to put points on the board. He's been top tier, not to mention Cooper Kupp having one of the best receiving seasons of all time, 17 games, 16 games or not. And then Stafford, who's been prone to throwing some picks, especially some pick sixes. He looked exceptional against the Cardinals, who they also throttled, which is a more impressive throttling at SoFi. Cam Akers, Sony Michel is good in the playoffs. I think this Rams team, as much as I love Brady, I think they come in and get it done as well. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I really think this is an upset pick waiting to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I was gonna think that I was gonna be the only one taking the Rams here, honestly, but it doesn't seem like that at all. They did their job very well against Arizona, and Stafford only had to throw the ball 17 times, right? They did the majority of their work on the run game. In a game where Cooper Kupp has only 12 yards in the third quarter, they clearly didn't really need him, and they still even got him in the action, second half and third quarter and the fourth quarter, and he got a touchdown and ended up with over 60 yards. If they really need to get into a shootout, they can. They have the weapons, they have the quarterback that can do that, but I think most importantly, they have the fresh legs, right? Cam Akers coming back is an X factor. I think that he is probably going to have a big year next year as a fantasy running back. He's probably going to take over as the number 1. But we looked at that Broncos team, or sorry, not the Broncos team. The Broncos team a while back. Or was it the Rams? It was the Rams.
It was the Rams with
when
CJ
they had
Anderson.
CJ Anderson. Yeah, when they had CJ Anderson. And he was fresh legs, right? It was a running back that hadn't played in the season. I know, yes, Akers had that Achilles injury, but he's had some time to work on himself. And I think that he is going to be pretty instrumental in getting the job done against the Bucs who are banged up, who we just mentioned. But I think the buck stops here for the Bucs. I don't think that they're going to be able to keep up this year just because of the fact that they've lost a lot of weapons. I know it's Brady. He had a career year, but I think time's up for them. It also kind of seems like maybe the locker room. I mean, people tend to think that, okay, whatever, like these distractions don't matter, but they matter. I mean, the fact that Arians is getting a $50,000 fine for smacking a player on the head, the whole AB thing, like there's little things here and there that go into it that make people think like, okay, do they really want to play for this guy? I don't 100% know. I can't really say that. I mean, people have said that he's a player's coach, but there's also people that, call him a jerk. So you really don't know. But there's distractions. And I think with this McVay team, it's quite the opposite. I think they've all bought in. Odell's turning it around, trying to prove something. So I really think this upset's going to happen.
Love the Arians callback to the slapping the player in the head, because that's ridiculous. Are we going to see a Coach O situation where he absolutely just crushes it one year and dominates, wins championship, and then is kind of, shoot at? You're saying no, Toss? Like he's
no. I mean, I
he's
think
he's Chilean.
He's shown that he's a good coach.
Yeah,
game in, game out.
He's a good coach.
I do think that part of this is just not good matchups, right? Like we mentioned already, defensive line for the Rams is really good. Offensively, the Bucs are missing guys, weapons specifically. Fournette's not healthy. Gio Bernard is helpful to have back, but then you look at what the Rams do really well. And Matt Stafford was brought in to throw the football so Sean McVay could open up his playbook. And the Bucs D, the defensive backs, defensively as a team this year, they let up 245 yards per game to opponents passing the ball. So that's tough. Just passing yards. That's just opponents passing yards right there. So their defensive backs have struggled all year. And to me, I think if you're Matt Stafford, forget that you're in a playoff game. Forget this is basically your first time in a game of this caliber, and just play football, do what you've done your entire career, and sling the rock.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's great. I mean, look, that is great. You know what, Toss? Like, I mean, Nick, you were right. Like I didn't know where you were going to be, Toss. I actually didn't know where any of you were going to be in this game. I came into this segment ready to go Bucks, because maybe it was because Nick's was like, we were like Bills on Bills and Benji's on Benji's. I was ready to be like Bucks on Bucks.
Bees.
Yeah, and like, stacks on packs and like the whole shebang, like ready to just like rhyme our way into like that championship weekend. But realistically, like you had me at the line. And I love the line. As good as the Bucs line is, I love what the defensive front is doing for the Rams. And I think at least this Rams team is a team of depth. We'll see what happens in the other game, because you gotta beat either the Packers or the Niners. The Niners, who they lost to, and going to Lambeau is brutal as they come the later it gets into the year, despite global warming. It's a very difficult situation, but I think they do go into Tampa and get it done. I mean, look, the Bucs were a wild card team last year. Like, they were on the road the whole time. So here we go. Nicholas, please.
I also, similar to your point about the Titans, where if they don't get it done this year, it could start falling apart. I feel like it's kind of a similar situation with the Rams, because Stafford is only getting up there in age. Odell's getting up there in age. They had to bring in guys, on the defensive side of the ball. You're gonna have to pay certain guys as well. I don't necessarily know they're gonna be able to keep the cast and crew together. Cooper Kupp is definitely gonna demand the bag pretty soon. I mean, he just had an all-time year at the receiver position, right? And if you're looking to pay Donald, you're looking to pay Jalen Ramsey. I mean, there's some shekels you're gonna have to throw out there. So don't necessarily know, but this also is the best chance they're ever gonna have, because they're playing the Super Bowl in their home stadium, right? They want to go home and play that home field advantage game at the Super Bowl. I mean, that's definitely some added juice to it. I mean, you look at the Bucs last season, they played in Tampa. There was definitely a storyline behind that. There was some motivation for them to win games extra hard.
Yeah, first team to ever do it. And it is a very similar situation with the Rams now being on the road. And I completely agree that this is could be their best chance. They've mortgaged the future unbelievably. Like, Les Snead's really gone all in on this year. Like, they've traded first round pick after first round, the Ramsey deal, the Stafford deal, like third round picks. They gave up on Goff, like, who clearly may not be the guy, but he's not old by person. He's not old. He's drafted 7 years after Stafford. So he's not that old. This is similar to Tennessee, but I definitely feel a lot better about the Rams than I do about the Titans, weirdly enough, despite them going to Tampa Bay. All right, Packers, Niners. That's where we are right now. The last game we'll discuss for the divisional round. How's everyone feeling on this one? The Niners, Nick, you were on the Niners money line. I was kind of wishy-washy, didn't want to commit, very uncommittal in that game. Toss, you had to go with your boys in your heart. If you want to win bets, bet against our teams, unfortunately, Pats, Chargers, and Cowboys, although I think all our teams are going to be competitive next year. -6 is the line in Lambeau, hair under a touchdown. Betting advice. Do we think we'll skip the betting advice for a hot second? Sorry, because then we'll get into the spread. Do we think the Niners have a chance to pull this one out, or can they pull this one out? Because there's always a chance.
Well, I mean, alluding to our last show on the charity stripe that dropped on Monday, I think every team has a chance in the playoffs. Sure. All these teams are in the divisional round because they're good football teams. They didn't get there by luck. All of the teams that weren't supposed to be there are already out now, right? You look at the Steelers, you look at the Eagles. So all these teams are capable of beating somebody. They've played really tough games this season, so they have a chance. Do I think it's going to happen, though? No, I don't. I think Toss has been hot on the Packers all season long, and at first, we weren't really buying it, but we bought in pretty quickly after we saw what Rodgers was doing to the rest of the league. I mean, the losses that they had this season weren't due to Rodgers. They were because Jordan Love was playing and Rodgers was suspended. Mm-hmm. And Rodgers is going to win MVP here. They've got a pretty good defense. They've got the weapons. I mean, I just don't see I personally don't see it happening. I think that the Packers have the best chance to win a Super Bowl that they've had since they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't want to look at I don't not to discredit the Niners too much. I really just think McCarthy and Kellen Moore, for all that matter, called the piss poor game. Like that Cowboys team is too talented to have put up 17 points, and they barely put up 17 points.
Right. And you also look as well, like on the Niners side of the ball, they're playmakers, right? I mean, yes, they've got great offensive weapons, but like, is Jimmy G going to be able to throw you back into a game against Aaron Rodgers? And also on the defensive side of the ball, is Nick Bosa going to be healthy? Is Fred Warner going to be fully healthy? I mean, those are X factors for your defense to combat this Packers offense.
I mean, You win this game if you're the 49ers. You win this game the exact same way you won it 2 years ago. You have Jimmy G throw 7 times. You run the ball incredibly efficiently right out of the gate. If they get the ball first, if the Packers win the toss and defer, if I'm the 49ers, I have to score that first possession. The first half of this game is going to be so telling because the Packers can come back if they're down 13 points. I don't see the 49ers doing that. No. I just don't think Jimmy has enough juice in him, especially still ailing from the injury. He looked good against the Cowboys. Cowboys run a lot of man, and Deebo Samuel is a man eater. He torches man. I mean, that's his bread and butter. You get him on a drag and he's gone. He's hard to bring down. So I think if you're Shanahan, you want to keep involving Deebo in the run. You want to get him the ball as much as possible. You want Elijah Mitchell to really step up and have a great game. And you just got to feed your playmakers, but you got to pound the rock. You Definitely. Have to.
Let me throw a quick hypothetical at you, because this could be the worst game of the docket on the weekend. This could be the biggest blowout. Let's just hypothetically say the Packers are up at half, 21-0, 24-0, hell, 28-0. At what point do they say, you know what, let's give Trey Lance a shot?
Maybe. If they feel I don't know if they necessarily do it at 21-0. Here's a thing that I'll kind of hypothetical. I think it's a great hypothetical, and I don't think it's out of the question. I think you're more likely to see it if it's 21-10 and they feel that they're in this game, but really can't get it done with Garoppolo. If they're in this game at 21-10 at the half, and they don't get the ball back, so they get the ball, like you're saying, tossed in the first half. It's a telling first half. They're down. They got to play from behind. Garoppolo clearly can't get it done. He was fine against the Cowboys. He wasn't spectacular. He's one of those guys that you can win with, but you're not going to win because of. He's got the experience. It may be too risky, but if you think you've exhausted all avenues with Garoppolo and he can't get you there and you're down 21-10. Then I think you may have to go. You may have to try it with Lance. Pull a Tua and Jalen Hurts. It's a crazy situation.
Yeah,
it's a crazy hypothetical.
You just don't see it as much in the NFL. But here are the things. I mean, Lance has won games to them already. He's already done that, and he suffered a game plan for. But also, if you're the Packers, like you're really not preparing for Lance. I'm sure like there have scenarios where like, okay, in case Lance comes in, like we got to be ready for it. It's the NFL. I mean, they're ready for anything. But if they're doing what Toss says and they're controlling the run game and they're running the ball effectively, but they still just can't keep up with how Rodgers is throwing the ball, you might as well throw Lance out there as well, because you're still able to do what you can do on the run game, but you can open up another avenue of him running the ball as well or passing it.
I don't think it's crazy.
I think it's tough. I want to push back a little bit on that, because I think that the way that they win this game is Shanahan outcoaches LaFleur.
Yes.
He wins with schemes. He wins by running the ball, and Jimmy G is the best guy to execute the offense. As much as Lance provides with his legs, he still doesn't have the offense down pat. He's a rookie.
Sure.
He hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Jimmy G doesn't lose you games, right? Like, he takes care of the ball. He does a good job of taking care of the ball, and he gets the ball to his playmakers. I mean, for the most part, and what you're banking on, again, looking at that game 2 years ago, they won because their defense was dynamite and they ran the ball incredibly well. You have to trust your defense, what they did to the Cowboys, and that you could stifle the Packers' run, get them into third and long situations, and force Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, to beat you. And if that happens, then so be it. But you got to put yourself in that position. That's how you win the football game. And I just think that, I don't know, Lance is too much of a curveball, and not in a good way for them, because he could throw a pick six his first throw, and then you're down, and then you're, instead of being down 21-10, you're down 28-10.
It's crazy. I'm just saying that's the only way I would see it happen. I love the hypothetical though. It is a fun hypothetical.
Look, if they're down by a lot, like there's no problem doing it, I think, in my opinion, because Jimmy's not going to throw you back into it, and you're going to get your guys some good playoff experience. If he's the guy who's going to take over and be your franchise quarterback for the next 15 years, get him as much playoff experience now as he can. I mean, might as well.
At that point, the chickens come to roost. But
really quickly, I mean, they still are dealing with some injuries, right? I mean, you have the Niners with Fred Warner and Nick Bosa being limited in practice, so those guys are huge.
Yeah, massive. Spread 6. Nick, Packers, Niners.
That's tough for me, but I think I'm going to take the Packers here. So if you look at the trend of last weekend, we had just the weekend games, not the Monday night game. You had 3 favorites winning, 1 underdog winning. This week I have it exactly flipped. I got 3 underdogs winning, 1 favorite winning. Put that on a parlay. Win you some money.
Toss.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride with my pick from the beginning of the year. Got to take Packers spread, take care of business.
Yeah, I think this is the worst game. I'm with you on that. And I think the Packers take care of business as well. Fans out there, I'm Joshua Fish along with Alexander Sapos, Nicholas Snacks Kreider. We're the Charity Stripe. Fans out there, track both feet in bounds. Swing a full count, rip that puck, hit that putt, hit your PKs because they're free, and hit your free throws. Why, guys?
Because they're free.
Because they're free. Without you, we love.